All right, so in your notes, we talked about how you can find the volume of any object, right? So we talked about three different ways that you can do that, right? So one of them was water displacement, right? Basically, where you have water in here, you put the object in here, and you try to see how much water goes up, right? That works great if the objects all fit into any of these graduated cylinders, right? So we have four of these. But what happens when you have an object like this, right? My 90-cent nail polish doesn't fit into any one of these, right? Well, for our class, the biggest graduated cylinder we have is a 100 milliliter graduated cylinder. So I can't get a bigger graduated cylinder to put this in, all right? So what do? Right? That's where the overflow can comes in from, okay? And exactly what it sounds like, we're gonna overflow some water. So we're gonna show you how to use this. All right, so here's how we use the overflow can, right? So I have the setup where I have the overflow can here, and it's got a little spout because we want water to basically pour out into here, right? So the first thing is, as you can see, it's completely empty, all right? We're gonna put this object in here, okay? Remember, again, the reason why we're doing this is because we can't fit this straight into a graduated cylinder to do water displacement. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the overflow can, we're gonna have something that catches the water here next to it. So I have my beaker. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take water, right? And I'm gonna pour it into the overflow can. And basically you're gonna pour just enough until it goes over the hole in the spout and water comes out, right? So that way we know that, hey, that all that water that overflowed out, we want to get basically that water level to be right where that hole is. So if the water level goes up, that water is going to come out. So what we're doing right now is we're getting to the point where the water is completely at the very, very right where the hole is, where the water can come out of the spout. So now at this point, this is just discarded water. We don't need this. So I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to pour it back in here, right? I'm going to do my best to get as much of the water out of it because I don't want that water to count. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put now my empty beaker to catch the water again. Because remember, water displacement, all that is just how much the water level goes up, right? So when I put this in, the water level is now going to go up in my overflow can. But this time, that water is going to come out and it's going to be caught into the beaker. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, perfect way is I'm not going to just drop it in. Because if I just drop it in, it's going to make a splash and I'm going to lose some of that water. So what I want to do is slowly, without putting my fingers in there, is I want to slowly drop it in so that it doesn't make a splash, which I just did, which is great. And my fingers aren't wet either. So now I'm going to wait until all that water comes out of the overflow can because that's how much the water level went up and that's how much the volume of that is, okay? So I'm going to look at that. I'm going to wait till it's completely done. All right, so now when I look at it, it's about 50 milliliters of water, maybe a little bit less. So now this is where coming up and figuring out which graduated cylinder I should use, right? So since it's about 50, I'm going to start with the 50 milliliters because I know that these two, it won't fit in it, right? So now I'm going to use my graduated cylinder because I know that I can't read on here precisely exactly how much water is in there, okay? So I'm going to take that and I'm going to pour all that into the graduated cylinder, right? So I'm going to try and get as much of the water out as possible. Now I know you might not be able to read it very, very well, but again, right, my technique of how to read it. So when I look at that at eye level, I can see that it's 47.5 milliliters. So therefore, I know that, and I'm going to take this out real quick, that my nail polish, because it was able to get 47.5 milliliters out, it has a volume of 47.5 milliliters in this graduated cylinder. So that is how I use a overflow can to help me get the volume of an object, okay? So that's how we use it. So you're gonna have to do this in your density lab. That's the reason why I'm showing you this, to get ready for the density lab. All right.